We have an all-star cast tonight for guests. How are y'all doing?
What's going on?
What up? What's good?
Gia.
Chia.
We got some newcomers and we got some people that we've had on this show before, so let's just go around. First, we got Bedlam on our left. What's up, man?
What's going on with y'all?
We got Dart Adams on the right.
Yeah.
I'm
sure you're used to my voice by now.
he's a veteran right now. And
he's actually another intern with us.
And we have Malcolm Gray now on the show. What's going on, man?
Yo, what's good? How you doing?
Good, man.
Yeah, what's up?
We got a great show for you tonight, a great discussion. Before we start, we were just playing some Nas Illmatic. Shouts out to the 20th anniversary of Illmatic, which was yesterday.
Yep.
Crazy.
One of the greatest albums of all time. If you haven't listened to it, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say.
Nothing to say.
That's just a problem. But we're gonna have a great discussion, good discussion about branding. We've already had a discussion about Boston hip hop, but today we have
focus that a bit more.
Right. We have three people that know a lot about branding, how to brand successfully within Boston, and we're gonna start this off with Bedlam, because branding is actually first. Let's just say everyone go around, say what you do.
All right, Bedlam, one of the founders of ShowOff Marketing. We handle every aspect of marketing and promotion for a variety of clientele, from street marketing, digital marketing, radio promo, you name it. We're hands-on.
Malcolm, graduate student at Emerson College, man. One of the last program director for 88.9 at Night. I do social media and lifestyle marketing at Karmaloop. A.K.A. Dart Adams' favorite company. And I'm a part-time hand model.
Okay, Dart Adams, I'm pretty much just like a journalist, but I guess I've done a ton of marketing and promotions for numerous independent and underground hip-hop producers and MCs, and even companies and record labels without me even trying to. So I'm like the anti-marketing guy.
The accidental hero.
Yeah.
It's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
All right, let's start this discussion off. Bedlam, we want to start with you. You've obviously a lot of experience in terms of marketing. What are the most essential components of strong marketing plans?
My plan, to be honest, it's not really just specific elements, because every artist needs different things. Some guys are a little bit more radio driven, some guys are a little bit more visually driven. It's different things. But if you don't have a plan, then you pretty much already have lost. That's just a key, crucial thing for a lot of people, which, it's something that some people lack. But there's some, where they have excellent, execution and things come out really well.
I think realistic goals and measurable goals. You have to know how much reach you want. If you have a download goal, if you have a follower goal, whatever it is, you need to have measurable goals. So after you finish your campaign, you know exactly how well you did and what adjustments you need to make.
I think another thing is you need to know the audience / market that you're trying to reach. So you need to know things inside and out. And I didn't realize this, but as a blogger, I knew what I didn't want to see when people submitted things to me, or what I didn't want when someone sent me something and I'm like, okay, first, make it a link, make it streamable. Don't send MP3s, because this can end up somewhere else. You can lose your joint. Somebody will take credit for it. I've seen it happen 100 times. And it's like you have to work backwards, where you explain to them what not to do. So in that sense, it's marketing without me even realizing that I was doing it, when I'm giving them advice on what not to do.
Dart, you've been, an OG in the game for a while now in the city, and that means you've been around before social media became the go-to thing. So can you kind of talk about what some of the major marketing tactics artists used back in the day before social media became a factor?
Okay, well, see, back in the day, when our internet used to go down because we had phone calls coming at the same time we went online, we had to leave the house. So we had to go out and see people. And there was a scene where you had to hit up everywhere. You had to go to... You knew you had to go to Biscuit Head. If you go to Biscuit Head, you have to go across the street to the Tower Records. If you went to the Tower Records, that means you had to go to the Newberry Comics down the street. If you went to Newberry Comics down the street, that means you had to go even further down to, the other Newberry Comics. You had to go around the Strawberries. You had to hit every spot. And then, if you did that meant you had to hit every university. You start out at Northeastern. The next thing you know, you're here. Then you're at BU, because you keep walking down Commonwealth. And you have to go on the loop, and you have to hit everywhere. You have to hit every store. You have to go to Cambridge. you have to hit Harvard Square, you have to hit Central Square. And you did this, you either took the train or you just pulled back the turnstile because no one paid then. No one paid. Or you had to walk. But either way, you had to put in real work. You had to meet people. You had to shake hands. You had to hand out flyers. You had to be present. You had to be at every show out there promoting physically. And people had to see you. And you had to interact with them. Here in this digital age, people think that if they posted on Facebook, they did their job promoting. That's bull. That's not. That's the laziest shit I ever heard in my life. Like, come on, you did nothing. Why am I paying you, B?
All right. So, this transition to social media, do you think that no one does this with the personal interaction? And is there any benefit to having this social media, or is it just stunting us further into this antisocial kind of?
I think overall, I mean, social media has made people a lot. You can be who you want to be online, and then when you actually meet this person in real life, they suck. Like, that's pretty much what it is. But what I've learned from B, because I used to intern for B, if y'all didn't know this, but it's like social media is important. Social media is important, but you have to still do the hand-to-hand. You have to touch the people. That's why tours are always so important. That's why these fans and these artists do more and more meet and greets these days, because you have to actually touch the people and, develop that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like the social media side made people really lazy. It put a lot of people close to people that they would have had to really, really work hard to get next to 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, someone can easily reach out to Nas or his management or a record label just by tweeting them.
And they might see it.
Versus before, where you actually had to go and create relationships just to be able to get into the building. And now it's just like, oh, well, I tweeted them and they liked my picture, so I feel like I have that relationship, and that's not the case.
Think Donnie Brasco. How Donnie got in with the mob. He was a friend of this guy. Who was a friend of this guy. Then he had to go on missions with them, and then they trusted him. Yeah. He didn't tweet. He didn't tweet Sonny. He was just like, oh, yo, let me DM this dude back. Nah.
But Derek, last time you were on the show, you talked about how the venue plays a lot of a huge role in that. And you can see that in the different types. Like at Paradise, you're more likely to have somebody actually like talk to you, and then Brighton Music Hall, it's even more of a connection between the artist and the audience. So can you talk about a little bit more about that and how like social media also plays a role in that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, okay. If you have your social media profile or whatever and you portray yourself as one thing, make sure you're out there so people can actually see and meet you and decide for themselves who you are. Because please, anybody can be anybody. I'm not trying to catfish nobody. Okay, so it's like the thing about venues is that show up to events, but I'll show up to a wide array of things. I just showed up in Naga for the first time because this man hosted an event with a friend of mine, and that's the first time I showed up to Naga. And I'm like, why didn't I ever go to Naga before? So it's like, I've been to, of course, the Middle East. I've been to Phoenix Landing. I've been to church a million times. I'll always be at like various events. Paradise Rock Club is another place. But it's like, I'll go everywhere and people will see me there, So it's like, there are different audiences for every place because people feel comfortable coming here, but they don't necessarily feel comfortable coming here unless it's a certain act or a certain group and they'll go there. But the whole thing is you have to touch everything. You have to touch everything. And I don't care how big your social media presence is. If you're not actively doing things where people can see you and talk to you, if they can't interact with you, then you might as well just erase your whole thing, because this is nothing. When you meet somebody and you actually talk to them, that face-to-face interaction, that's where the money's made.
Yeah.
So would you say that's the difference between branding and marketing?
Yeah, because the whole thing with branding is that branding, bam, this is what it is. When you meet it, when you interact with it, is it authentic? So you can market all you want. But when the person comes into contact with it, when they get it, when they see the person, when they see the thing, when they get the music, it has to meet all the expectations. So branding and marketing, I guess they go hand in hand, but of course they're not the same thing.
I have a theory, I think what I've been trying to play with recently is kind of like branding is a byproduct of marketing. So you push, you create relationships, and how they feel about you, that's the effect of branding. That's the branding. How people view your brand, how they experience it. What's the first thing you think of when I hear Dart Adams' name, when I hear Bedlam's name? That's branding, based on what they've marketed to me and just how they've interacted with me in the past.
I think you guys pretty much have all said what I
But I do want to say something though. On what Dart said, it's kind of like when I first started at 88.9 and really started to get involved with the local scene. I'm the PD, so I really don't. Honestly, a lot of PDs might not have to go to events or actually interact with the homies. They could do the email, and you might not ever see them. But I know I wanted to be a part of something. So you'll see me pop up at church. You'll see me pop up at House of Blues. You'll see me pop up at these shows where people are opening up and really, getting their first start. You'll see me at Middle East trying to talk to people and just being around and just supporting physically. A retweet is cool, but you show up, you even pay for that show. That's something. You know what I mean? That means something.
I mean, you really did build a very powerful brand at WRS, something that I have, become in contact with as a suburban kid. So you've obviously succeeded on that front. Can you kind of explain some initial steps that you took in addition to going to the shows and shaking people's hands?
Man. I think, I came in with a clear mind on Boston hip hop. I had no opinion. Because I went to undergrad at UMass Amherst. When I was really, really young, I wasn't really going to shows. I don't know what I was doing, but I wasn't really on the scene. So when I went to Emerson for grad school, I kind of just was like, all right, let me see what's up. I was just an on-air DJ, and people kept reaching out to me. I didn't realize how people even knew who I was. I'm like, how'd you even get my Facebook? Like, why are you even adding me? Like, I don't even know. And then people just started sending me music, and I was like, yo, I might as well just listen, check it out. It might be good. Just because they're from here doesn't mean it's terrible. And I remember the first person that actually reached out to me and that I connected with was Natural. And it was funny because he just sent me a Facebook message, and it was cool. I checked out his music. He had a couple of joints that I liked. I was like, all right, let me set up the interview and come in. And then from that, I really realized how you making that connection with people and giving them that opportunity, how people react to that. Because to me, I'm a program director, I'm an on-air DJ. I see artists all the time. Like, it's not as a big deal to me. But if you get an artist on the radio for the first time, that's huge to them. That's a milestone in a lot of people's careers that you on the other side of the booth don't even think about. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, just another interview. But to him, he's like, wow, I'm on 88.9, I'm on WTBU. Is it BTU, TBU?
WTBU.
TBU, I see it up there. You know what I mean? But like, you know what I mean? Like, these experiences are special to people. And that's what I started realizing. That's when I made it the point to be like, all right, if you have good music and you're really out here working hard, I'm going to support you because I want everything to grow.
Is there anything in there that you can apply to an artist standpoint for branding?
I think this might be more of a B question, but I think that in terms of artists, they need to associate themselves with good things. I think a lot of artists aren't informed and they make a lot of decisions based off what other people are doing. And they might not come off genuine. And this is a whole, I'm gonna have to scale back and come back at a different angle. But I think they're at the basis of it. I think people are just really trying to get on and they want to get on as soon as possible and not in whatever way they can, not necessarily the right way and the steady growth. So.
Well, let's go off that for a second because Dart touched on this quickly. What is something that artists do when they reach out to you that just bothers you? That when you see it, you just can't. There's no way you're gonna mess with them at all.
Well, first off, one thing is spamming. Now I'm going to explain something to anybody who ever uses Twitter in their life. If you send me a link, I'm going to then go to your Twitter page. And if I see you sending the same message to everyone, including people I don't particularly fuck with,
oh boy, which is almost everybody,
I'm going to block you, and I'll never listen to anything you send me again. If you send me an email in all caps with a lot of Z's and O and spell boy BOI and misspelling words that you should really spell properly, especially if you misspell words like by weapons like Uzi. If you misspell Uzi, and first, why is Uzi even in email and capitalized? But I'm not going to pay attention to your music. If you have a ridiculous name, if the song sounds not promising based on the title, there's a whole lot of stupid shit you can do to make people never listen to you. And don't get it twisted, I'm still a professional. Yeah. If you don't take yourself seriously, why should I? Yeah. So that's one thing you could do to just shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah. Oh my God, I hate when songs aren't tagged.
That's too.
It's the smallest thing. I just hate it. That bothers me. It's like it takes 2 seconds, and it's just like based on Dart. I think it's right. People will send you. I took my email. I used to have my email on my social media profiles. I had to take it down because you get all these ridiculous emails, and it's like you had all day to write this email. It's a simple thing. Do a regular title, like spelling, like. Come at me as a professional and I'll treat you as one. But if everything's like, yo, what's up? How you doing? Yo, this is that new fire. You know what I mean? You got to listen to this. This is going to change the game. I'm not going to listen to it. That's just how it goes. You know what I mean?
So I got a laundry list. So I'm just going to go down them real quick.
Dish it out. Let's go.
So I deal with a lot of artists, obviously, one-on-one, because a lot of them come to me for a variety of different services. I hate the non-tagging part. That's a pet peeve, and every DJ that I've ever serviced also hates that. So that's the first thing. The exaggerated social media presence is crazy to me. Like,
number one on Reverb Nation in Utica, New York.
Like, I'm killing it on Dat Piff. It's like, great. So's my mom. Like, who cares? You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't mean anything to me. The fake followers I hate. I have, software where I can tell people whether they have fake followers based on percentages. So I'm always exposed to people. That's just fun for me at this point. Just the approach too. Some people kind of approach you in a way where it's like you need to do this or you need to do that.
Yeah.
And it's just like you coming to me for a service. I don't need to do anything, And it's not about like being egotistical about it. It's just like your approach and the way you say things or the way that you come across really can affect how a person views you. And especially if you come into a person like myself where I'm providing a service, you want me to be happy that I'm doing your promo because that's the energy that I'm going to give off. But if you come to me in a negative way and then I feel a negative way about you, it's like, are you really comfortable spending money with somebody who may not view you, It's different. Like, I don't know, the approach is a really big thing for me on a lot of different standpoints, not even just, speaking to people, just in all aspects, just how you, word things in an email, it's just crazy. It's just like a lot of common sense isn't really out there these days.
And I think that you have to know who you're sending the email to. Like, if you're sending it to a DJ, make sure, do some research on a DJ. Just because he's a name doesn't mean he plays that type of music. You know what I mean? And if you send out a blast, BCC, please. Please. That's rule number 0.5. That's not even one. That's like that's the first thing you gotta do is the BCC. But honestly, know who you're talking to and know DJs talk to each other. You know what I mean? They'll get the same email. And if this dude plays trap stuff, don't send him, as Dart would say, backpack, right?
Yeah.
You can't send him the Lupe joint if he's playing Migos. You don't do that. Just because he's a popular name doesn't mean he's gonna play that. You know what I mean? So you have to know your audience.
I hope everybody's listening. So why do you think people are getting this way? Is it the sense of entitlement or this kind of, or is it the like impersonal or overly personal kind of status that social media has created?
Well, the first issue with social media is that everything's been removed. So it's like there used to be space between you, the DJ, the marketer, the artist, what have you. When I was coming up, there was this thing called Mystique, where Rakim was Rakim. Ooh, mysterious.
You can't talk to him.
You know what I'm saying? Nas was Nas. Ghostface when he first came out, you didn't even see his face. But all that is gone now because with social media, you have to be present online. You have to have a video. There has to be pictures of you on a blog. So when you're always on Twitter or whatever, like let's say you're Joe Budden, there's no filter. So it's like you just feel like with anybody that you could they spill their life out to you. So it's just like I don't have to correct anything. I was like, yo son, check this out. So it's like that's a big problem, and then that spills over into when you send somebody something where you feel as though you don't have to be professional or you don't have to do X, Y, and Z or put on a certain air or something just to get something done. And that's absolutely wrong because business is business at the end of the day, regardless of social media.
So what else do you need to make it, like in Boston in particular, because we know that's, it's something new that we're experiencing where artists are starting to get more popular now outside of the city. So what is it take for them to actually make it. So we have professionalism, but we also have this idea of a connection with your audience.
Well, you got to do research.
Yeah, man.
Because we've talked about this all the time. If we've been like in a room together, cats don't do their due diligence. Let's put it this way, my boy Greg at Killer Boombox, he sat me down one day. We were at Whiskey's, and he pulled out a notebook, and in that notebook had every venue in Boston and how many seats every venue in Boston has, and the average ticket price, and how much it is for liquor, and do they serve liquor, and all this other stuff. And I'm looking at this notebook, and I'm like, how many people have this information? He was like, it's just out there, and if they don't have it, then they don't deserve to make any cash. And I looked at him, and I was like, you're damn right. You have to, like, it's like the time when I was here with Ed. I asked Ed, I was like, yo, what's the name of that club? The Honey Pot? Where is it? Seabrook, New Hampshire. Why do I know the Honey Pot? I've never been there. But I know that, like, my peoples that we work with Brandon, they do shows there. Right. You know? I know who promoters are that bring people to places I've never even been. Why do I know that? Because it's important for me to know, even if I've never been there. It's like you do your due diligence. You know who you're talking to. You know what they do. What they use. Who they're in league with. Who their people are. How do you get to them? What's the best way to approach them? What venues are you gonna be working in? Who promotes those venues? What should you do or not do? Do your job. Just it's so your life will be so much easier if you just do some simple research. How are you gonna succeed if you don't have a plan? If you don't have a plan, you're planning to fail. And then remember, the tone is 70% of everything. It's how you approach somebody. So, like, take this seriously. You want this to be a career? Then take it seriously. When you go to a job interview, you don't show up in like a hospital robe and slippers. Like, damn it.
I think I tweeted something out the other day. Is like if your manager sucks, people won't want to work with you. And it's like, and the funny thing is, like, you know, it's cool that your homies, you want to bring them along with you and you want to give them positions, but if they're not qualified, they can end up really ruining everything that you're trying to do. But it's like, you have to understand, if these people are going to be representing you and reaching out to venues, reaching out to promoters, and people don't like them, you're not going to get booked, you know, just period. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you have to understand who you associate yourselves with. It's so important, especially at the coming up stages, because a lot of the stuff at this level, there's favors, you're putting in work. People going to look out for you. If they recognize you're working hard, they're willing to work with you a little bit. But if the people that are around you are terrible and they just suck, or they have their own thing going on, they're not going to mess with you.
Yeah. Actually, going off what you were saying about the entitlement part, that frame of thinking is the worst frame of thinking and will probably turn people off the quickest. I have one example. I have a client that I had in the past. Before we had started, and I was asking him why he was out so much and nobody ever played his music. And he's like, well, they know me. You know, I'm in their clubs. I spend money, this, that, and the third. They should just play my music. I'm like, but dog, how do they get your music? Oh, well, I tweeted on my social networks. It's on my Facebook. It's on my Twitter. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, so you're telling me you're mad at a DJ because they don't go to your social networks and download your music versus you actually giving it to them to support you? Yeah. And that was the answer. That's what it was. Like that level of thinking where it's like you're bigger in your head than you actually are, or you assume that these DJs or these people are supposed to come and find you versus you going to meet the people is crazy to me.
Like, nobody owes you anything.
Yeah.
No.
Ever. Nobody owes you anything. We don't care how nice you think you are. We don't care how many hours you put in, how much work you doing, how much you grinding. It doesn't matter. I could give two shits. You know what I mean? Like, if my job is to like put you on, like if I'm not running an outlet, or you're not appealing to me based off your music, your work ethic, and all that stuff, everything has to come together. And we have to know it's about the trajectory as well. You know what I mean? We have to see you support people that are on their way up, not on their way down and don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean?
That's a really good point. You know, we've been talking a lot about what artists are doing wrong. I want to just, you know, shine a light on, you know, artists and managers that you guys think are doing a great job in terms of marketing and branding. I was wondering if you guys would just give a couple names or examples of things that you've seen that you liked and who they were.
Locally or nationally?
Both, doesn't matter. Who's someone that an artist and a manager can look up to and say, this is a good way to get it done?
I mean, the GOAT, Chris Lighty,
Yeah.
had the best
Rest in peace.
layout for the musicians, period. I mean, he had the management company
Yes.
who oversaw the marketing, the pretty much the entire project from top to bottom, from the booking in-house to marketing to any of their business affairs,
Road management,
to their label,
Huge
like
artists,
everything.
like
Like that's on a major scale. I can look at people like that, or James Cruz, who manages Diddy's empire pretty much, or Rick Ross or Nicki Minaj. You know what I'm saying? How about Amir, who manages Freeway and a couple other people? He's a very good example of someone who's amazing at what he does. I won't say that I'm talking about another person. I'm not going to say that he's local, but he's from the area. But like Tim LaRue's another good example. He's a person who's gone out, created great relationships, which has helped out his artists tremendously. That's one person that I can personally name as a manager that no one has anything negative to say. Yeah. And I think that's going to carry them a long way, because it's going to be a lot of situations of favors and people genuinely checking for them and wanting to see them succeed.
Then you have like Reggie, and you have like Reggie who works with there's
Natural.
Chris, Natural, and then there's Chris who works with Dutch Rebel. It's just like people will respond to you if you seem like you know what you're doing and you're genuine. And when it seems like you have a product that works and everybody's professional and they genuinely, it gets to a point where they root for you.
yeah.
Like Dutch, her video Yin. You see the trajectory of that video? How it just went from here to a couple blogs to a gang of blogs to MTV Jams?
Yeah.
That wasn't a coincidence. That was work. The first time I met Dutch and Reggie and Quiz and everybody else, it was, again, Greg introduced me. He was like, yo, this is Dutch. Don't fall in love. And like, I hadn't heard a song of hers. I heard a freestyle she did that night. And the trajectory was just, and they were learning as they were going. Like, I talked to Chris last year during the World Series, and he was just like, dog, I'm just still learning. I was like, great. I shook his hand. I was like, great.
Yeah.
Never get like, I know everything. I'm still learning. And I'm old as hell. So it's like, people will root for you, man. If you do the right thing and put your best foot forward, people will work with you, and they'll genuinely want to invest in your come up.
And I think, playing off what you said about being genuine, like, I think there's an interesting way where a lot of managers, of course not any people we named, will just always talk to you about business. They're not really interested in like getting to know you and really developing a relationship before they ask you for something. And that's huge. Like, just talk to me like I'm a normal person. Like, I know we're in industry, whatever, but I'm still a normal person. We can vibe on some other shit.
And the guy that does that is Dre Ducati, who works with A-Ladge. Like, anytime he comes to town, we talk, and it doesn't even get to business for the longest or about the music. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I definitely have to show love to Keys and Dre Ducati. Dre Ducati's definitely one of those guys that's kind of low key but very effective. So he's definitely another one we got to show love to.
Got you. I mean, all of you are involved in an entity that kind of goes beyond your individual person. Like Malcolm, you oversee radio. Bedlam, obviously, you oversee your company. You're working with a wide array of, artists and journalists and bloggers. Like, how do you guys kind of take a step back and think about how you're building your own team? What role has that played in where you are today?
I'll be honest. Had I ever paid attention to what the hell I was doing, I don't know if I would have realized I was doing it. I was just at the it was a Rock Marciano and Black Milk show, right?
Friday.
Yeah, and I see jazz, rock, and I see Black, and like I'm talking to Rock and I'm talking to Black, and we're talking about stuff going back 5-6 years. And I'm like, wait, I've known these dudes that long?
Yeah.
And it's like I've had a relationship with these people, and it's like they fuck with me based on just me being myself. I didn't promise anything. I just was just like, yo, everybody needs to hear this album. I write something. I don't put anything out to universe. I don't ask for anything. I don't beg for anything. Next thing you know, I get an album in my inbox. It ends up being a classic album called Marsburg. Jazz just hits me up out the blue. That starts our relationship. I didn't ask him for anything. I didn't ask for anybody's information.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'll tell you this. 98.9, no, screw that. 98.6, which is actually a better percentage, of the people that deal with me, I did not reach out to them. I just did what I did, and they came to me out of me just doing what I do genuinely. So I've never had an opportunity to really step back and be like, oh God, I really did all this for these people's careers. Because had I done it, I don't know if I would have done it if I realized I was doing it. So it's like I did marketing and branding and stuff without realizing I was doing it.
Yeah, definitely to that point, you just have conversations with people and ideas that you would have they didn't even thought of before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you'll see that like years later or even like months later on the next project, but you never know how you're really affecting somebody even in normal conversation. And to switch it to 88.9, that's an established brand, you know what I mean? So when I came in with I used to listen to that growing up. I was like 9 in the car with my dad on the way home listening to, Optimus. You know what I mean? I listened to Optimus on the way home, and it's just like, yo, this is so crazy. Like, this is amazing. Like, this is what I want to listen to. They played DMX, Stop Being Greedy. Like, you ain't going to hear that nowhere else. Nowhere else you're going to hear that. So I came in. That's an established brand, and everybody, Dart knows this stuff. Everybody on the scene in the 90s and the early 2000s killing that, you know what I mean? That's where you went to blow, at least locally, you know what I mean? So me coming in with my new energy 10 years, 20 years later, it's kind of like it was perfect timing because there was like a rise and there was like artists bubbling at the same time. And I just happened to be, it was on my agenda to help local talent. You know what I mean? That just organically and genuinely, I just wanted to help because you see people working and we haven't really it happens in seasons where late 90s, early 2000s, things kind of dropped off for a while. But as things started coming back together, I got in a position of power where I could actually help. And I just used that brand name that was established a long time ago and helped try to bring it back to the forefront and really push out some artists. And we did all right. You know what I mean? We got some big names to help a B and, all kind of stuff, man. But, we just really just understanding your brand and the power that it has to help, push people in the right direction.
Stop being modest.
Yeah, give yourself some credit, man.
Over here trying to act like he didn't do anything.
No.
WERS was an established brand, and I just came in to live up to the legacy and everything.
No, it's like
with my beer.
It's like the sports cliche answers right there, just going straight up.
It's a team thing, you know what I mean?
Do it for the logo.
Yeah, well, I'll personally say some of the previous team members over there they were not doing the job adequately. You came in and really launched a platform for a lot of people.
I think that it was a point where that became number one. Like, I don't think people know the backstory of me quitting my full-time accounting job so I could pursue more time for radio and marketing. And ERS, like, I'm leaving salary checks to do this little cheap little job, you know what I mean? But I put so much time, so many hours into that to help build. Just because I saw something, I saw potential there, and I saw there was things that needed to be done, and I just put a lot of time into doing it because, just had to do that for the city one time, you know what I'm saying?
Living for the city.
I mean,
God.
for ShowOff, our team setup is a little bit different, being as that we're a service business. So, I mean, we have a variety of different steps that we use. On the label side, we've kept everything pretty quiet. In regards to bringing in a lot of people, it's pretty much always been, Term, Static, a couple other people. On the marketing side, I mean, we do offer like internship programs. I do have a couple people that are like solid that have been with us for years, not as interns. I'm talking about like paid employees in New York and Boston. Our criteria is a little bit different. I typically shy away from lazy people.
Oh yeah, please.
And people who aren't personable, because at the end of the day, they are representing me and my company. And I need them to be able to interact with people and create relationships in order to get the job done. The lazy part, there's just some people who are just willing to go out and do the job, and there's just some people who just aren't. There's, again, it brings in the entitlement situation, but also some people just aren't meant to be in the streets. Some people are just more comfortable being behind a computer sending emails. So typically, if it's a situation like that, I would shy away because anyone that knows me knows I'm very, very active. I like to be out, and I don't care. If I have a job to get done, it gets done, and I don't take no for an answer from anybody. That's just what it is. I mean, for what ShowOff is, we're problem solvers. You come to us, and you have an issue, and we'll get it taken care of. That's how it goes. That's how it always will be. That's how it's been since we started in 2003, and it's how it will be for forever.
And I don't know if B's going to speak to this, but there's an issue with people not wanting to put that bread up, man.
No.
And just because we're a home team, like, doesn't mean we shouldn't get. You know what I mean? Not we're gonna rape you or anything like that. But we're working too. You know what I mean? We understand you got goals, but we gotta live. We gotta eat as well. You know what I mean? So as long as we support you, you should support us and local businesses and giving that money.
To me, it ties into professionalism.
Yep.
If you present yourself as someone who should be taken seriously, then you should take this as anything that comes with business.
Yeah.
And when in business, there's a cost of doing business. There's a cost of doing business.
Oh yeah. No budget, no meeting.
What's your budget? It should be the first question, and if there's no answer, there's no meeting.
Oh, I mean, that's
just
what it is.
0.25. That's not even 0.5. Please.
We haven't even made it to 1 yet.
Yeah, we ain't made it to 1. We didn't get the. Yeah, we didn't get the 1.
Word. I want to keep this conversation going about radio because that was really interesting. All you brought up there about 88, 9 at night, which unfortunately, isn't. I hate to bring this up, but unfortunately, is now it's canceled. And I want to just ask a question about radio in general, because with Boston, it just
radio suckers never play me.
But with radio, there just seems like there's this void here with the Boston hip hop community because there's not many outlets. Like we talked about this. Like, yeah, we have WTBU. We're trying to do the best we can with this, but it's college radio. We're trying to do like our job, but it just seems like there's this void there. You do have 94.5, but there could be more. How much of a crutch is it that there isn't, a radio station that really
towards
urban local hip hop?
Well, Touch FM just got rated by the FCC.
Yeah.
So I mean, that hurt.
Yeah,
that hurt. When Deval Patrick and when the governor and the mayor are like, damn feds, y'all really rated like the hood station in Grove Hall? Damn, son. When the governor and the mayor are like, y'all are foul for that. That just shows you there's a huge void.
Yeah,
huge.
man.
When I was a kid, we had WILD.
Yeah.
Okay, WRBB was a college station, but they kept ILD on their toes because there were certain things they were playing and they were like, what, people are responding to that? We got to play that. So it's like, and then on top of that, you had, your little pockets where even WILD was affecting what was going on in like Kiss 108 FM back in the day. So it's like urban radio fed college radio, which boosted everything, and it affected the other radios. Sometimes WBCN even got hit with stuff. I think it was a minute before WBCN even played like Lights Out by dude from Jay Giles' band, Peter Wolf. The college radio stations were playing it after the ILD played it, and then it spread it out. But without any urban radio whatsoever, like, of course, Ed was on last time with me, and we were talking about how 94.5 and Hot 97 used to have to go back and forth with each other.
Yeah.
We don't even have that anymore.
Good old days, man.
When Hot was gone, it was like 94.5 was like, oh, so we don't have to do anything for y'all at all. We don't even have to lie like we care.
Yeah, I remember there was a commercial on the original Hot 97 here, and it's like, you'll never hear, and they played Backstreet Boys. You'll never hear Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, or NSYNC on here.
Yeah.
We played Rare, and I was like, yeah, you do. Yeah. And like B and Dart know the radio. I was a kid. I was really, really small growing up listening to radio during that first Hot 97. I was like 11, 12. And I think the thing about Boston that's like where there's disconnects, if you go to a market like New York, B, you might have to correct me on this, but you have the radio DJs that have residencies, right? And then you have them doing mixtapes, and you have all this other stuff as well. We don't have that as much here, so it's kind of like that whole circle where you can hear your song on the radio, then you'll hear it in the club that night, then you'll probably be on that new Flex tape or that new DJ Clue tape or whatever it is. That same whenever it drops, we don't have that kind of cycle here. So that support, there's missing links in that support chain,
So it's like our popular DJs. It's like, get that on Mixcloud. Get that on DatPiff.
Yeah.
Catch it on Audio Mac. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? That shit's gonna be on Bandcamp. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not the same as the radio.
Yeah, man.
SoundCloud, yay. I like to hear it on SoundCloud after I heard it on the radio. Can it get on the radio?
I mean, the urban radio thing is really, really touchy in this market, solely because it comes down to a couple of different things. I feel like with all the energy that these community stations are putting in, somebody needs to do the right thing and get like an FCC like certified station.
Right. I put all of it together.
They're killing themselves in a way where, because like for me, my clientele are record labels. Let's just keep it 100.
They're record labels.
If any of my record label clients knew that there was an urban station in this market, they would go crazy. It would be the best thing in the world for them. Because think about how many artists that you guys probably play that you'll never hear on commercial radio out here. Now, this is a pop market, top 40, number 9 crossover market in the U.S. So in all actuality, a lot of the urban stuff is getting totally overshadowed because it's not bringing in a fraction of the money that is. So a company like Clear Channel and stuff, they don't care about opening an urban station because even when they do open urban stations out here, the people don't support it. They don't spend money there. They don't do advertising there. And it's a business at the end of the day. And a lot of people just aren't handling business. You know, like you got a bunch of pirate stations that are spending X, Y, Z dollars doing all this stuff and then get mad that a record label doesn't acknowledge them. But it's like, why would I spend money to send an artist to your market and I can't even get numbers out of it or something out of it?
That's true.
You know, like it's just a lack of business in a certain way. I mean, it's something that everybody wants, but then when it's here, the people still aren't. It's not even just that they're not working for it. They're not spending money there. They don't understand that radio has to generate income. And if you're not spending money there, if you're telling these companies we don't want to spend money at urban radio, what's the incentive to create an urban radio station?
And for anybody that's wondering what Brandon's talking about, please look up parts 1 and 2 of when Ebro Darden was on the Combat Jack show explaining what happens at Hot 97.
Yeah.
That will clear up anything. And I'll explain to you how radio works. I found out how radio worked when I was a kid, and it was reiterated to me after the signing of the Telecom Act of 96 when I saw radio change from 96 all the way until 97, 98. And I was like, oh, why is this happening? Oh, wait, I know why this is happening. And we're still there. But it's deeper because it's deeper now, you know? Things don't get better until you change things or act. Yeah, man, it's a problem.
I mean, it could not be remedied, but there are ways around it. You know, more people, like, think about how big online radio is getting.
Yeah.
You can really legitimately build an online station, and really, if you do the right things, you can have an impact. Yep. Now there are technologies that are getting ready to come out where people are going to be able to actually tell when the records are getting played on these type of formats. So it's like, if you do your research and if the right people come together and put something together like that, there's an opportunity. But there's also the disconnect of nobody wants to be the person to create the platform. They just want to use and abuse it.
Yeah. And I think there's this thing where everybody wants to be that person instead of that they want to be number one instead of realizing that it takes 5 to win. That's another team reference. Well, if you're playing basketball, I guess.
Dude, anybody that saw The Social Network, I want you to keep one thing in mind. There was the guy, the idea guy, or basically any tech, anything that's what we call the creation myth. I'm sure you know this. There's the idea guy, and then there's the money guy, and then there's everybody else. Well, all the other people that were coding and doing all the other extra stuff, and you never saw the dude who was doing the promotions, did you? They just said, you're getting 5%. You never saw what he did you? No, not in the movie. But it's like, you need teams. You need a team of people. You need to all say, all right, we need this, we need this, we need this, we need this. We're building this.
Yeah.
And you're doing it not just for yourself. You're doing it for everyone. So eventually everyone can benefit. But everyone benefiting means that it has to turn into a business, and people have to buy in, and it has to generate income, it has to generate revenue, and then it has to be profitable for everyone and work for everyone. Because if business isn't mutually beneficial, who the hell wants to do business?
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Because you guys are a platform, and you know, you're one of the few, urban platforms left in this area. Do you feel a level of responsibility to deliver a certain kind of way because of that? Because, right now, especially with 88.9 going, a lot of other things, your choices of listening to, urban music in this city are very, very limited. So how do you guys approach it?
I definitely think that we do, especially because of what's going on. Obviously, with 88.9 at night going down, that was something I knew about you for a while. And like your show and everything.
That's creepy.
Malcolm got fans.
But I definitely have known about that, and that was something we wanted to do with this show since the start. We wanted to, push out these artists because I interned on a show called Midnight Marauders my second semester of college, and I started to see a lot of these guys coming up and kind of regrowing the scene. All people that were 12 for 12. I really got to see that firsthand, and with our show, I just wanted to continue that and continue to promote these artists that are coming up because you knew that there was this strong young youth kind of coming back into the scene. So I wanted to be a part of that, and I thought with this show we could, create a platform for that. And I feel like to some degree we can, and I want to continue to do that with the show.
I mean, I'm a freshman student right now at BU, and I came in here having no idea about WTBU's existence. I didn't know, the newspaper existed. I didn't really know about much going on here aside from 12 for 12 because I knew about Tim and Blair and Guillermo. But when I came to the show, and I wasn't even supposed to be an intern, there are 2 slots and 2 were already filled. But Atri, who's the executive producer, knew about me, so he said, we're gonna make room for you. And I was excited. I didn't really know what to expect because I didn't know much about WTBU, and the general, consensus about most of the shows is it's cool, students are doing things, they're adding shit to their resume, but it doesn't really matter. But the difference about this show that Atri has done, that Joe has done, that Miriam has done, that Tyler Benson did when he was still here, shouts out to him, he's abroad right now, they made this something very serious. They did something with this show that almost no other show on WTBU is doing, which was, aside from having good on-air personalities and focusing on the streets, they brought legitimate artists on air and in studio from across the country, and they bring people like you guys in and acknowledge the people who matter in this city into the studio and do something about it. And to me, that's an incredibly special thing that hopefully will continue to grow.
Yeah, I think when we started this show, it was mostly, for me at least, it was more of like an education experience. But it was also for us to kind of have fun and take radio into our own hands. It was supposed to be about what we wanted to hear and what we thought that people should be listening to, and it turned into this bigger thing. It's actually kind of awesome for us to look back on how much we've grown.
In the moment right now.
I know. But it has become...
Started from the bottom.
Happy Easter.
But it has become this thing that's much larger than what we expected it to be, and it's become something that is being shared a lot more. It's grown outside of our own bubble and our own friend group. It's become something that we've been able to share with the hip hop community in Boston.
Right. I think a big thing is, and I think about, us last year during the spring, myself and this other kid, Tyler, who's not here right now, we had a lot of good artists come on. We had Air come on. We had Mo Pope come on. We had Reem come on.
I saw them last weekend.
Just adding that in there. But I don't know if we had the platform to get that stuff out.
Yeah.
To, have people know, we're doing this. We're having people come on. And I think this year what's different, and I really have to credit Atri for doing this, is that we've built connections. And now people know about our show and know that we're going to play, urban music in this area. And that we're going to not only do that, we're going to interview people from the area. We're going to try to have discussions from it. And now people know about us. So, I think a lot of shows here play stuff from Boston. But what does that do if no one's listening? Essentially. And that's what we've tried to do. We've tried to make a show that people will come in and listen to. Yeah. And it's still growing. We're still trying to get, more people, but I think we've done a good job so far, and one will continue to do. But that's the huge thing, because college radio is college radio. You can say you have a radio show, but it's more so what you do with it, I think.
Yeah, I think that it's looking at, just dealing with everything. I think when I was trying to get, I was reaching out to labels for interviews and stuff, my relationships weren't that great, but it's if the labels understood the importance of college radio, then it would be an easier conversation and I'd get responses. But if college isn't really on their market, or they didn't see the value in our college radio station at Emerson, then they just really didn't care. And I think that's taking that and still supporting what you can, even if you can't get the bigger names, whatever, support who you can, music that's genuine to you guys and that you actually want to see do well, and then it'll just grow from there. And then that's kind of what I used to, just try to build what I had, and with a lot of help from Brandon. But it's really just everybody wants to reach college students because it's your formidable years, and then that's when you get all your branding ideas of their products for the rest of your life. At least that's what people think. So college radio fits into that. A lot of the music I started listening to in college, that's kind of the wave that I'm on now. You know what I mean? A lot of people listen to different stuff when they go away to college or whatever. That really changes you, or you really just realize that that's what you really fuck with.
And plus, when you think about it, it's like starting from like the tail end of Generation X. There's a documentary called The Merchants of Cool, which basically just talks about how corporations started studying everyone following Generation X. So because the internet had changed everything to the point where it's like, we need to know what they're doing, how they think, how they act, what they're into, and we need to know, otherwise everything's going to fall into this. Everything's going to fall. There's going to be no business. We're not going to know how to market to anybody. Well, what's happened over those last 10 years or whatever is that now the millennials have become the most studied, the most watched, the most surveilled generation in the history of history.
Yeah.
And it's like everything you guys do, you guys have turned into a big marketing group.
Yeah.
You're a big focus group. So if you're not investing in college radio, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because last weekend I actually went to a concert at Paradise. I saw RJD2, which was really awesome.
Which I missed, damn it.
It was awesome. He was amazing. But it was cool because, they were talking about this guy coming on to open, and it was last minute because the person that they had opening was, backed out last minute. So they were like, oh, somebody named Rain is coming. And I was like, oh, that's funny. I wonder, like...
We know him.
Yeah. I know him. And all of a sudden it was Rain. Yeah. It was Rain. And he came on stage. And he was like, yeah, I have some friends here. Can you give it up for Mo Pope? And his hype man, Christopher Talkin. I was like, oh my God.
That's dope.
Like, it's so funny. And then it was great because after they did their show, they were, just hanging out in the audience. And I ended up going up to him and I was like, hey, you've been on my show before, and I saw you last year at Brighton Music Hall. It's amazing that you're here. And he was like, yeah, Rain got asked last minute, and then he called us and was like, hey, you want to come on stage with me? And it was like this really interesting connection that they had, where it was, they can do that. You can do that in Boston. You can do that at Paradise, where it's this last minute thing, and he can just have Mo Pope show up to the show and get this entire, because nobody there, that nobody there that was expecting that.
Right.
They were expecting RJD2 and probably some smaller person going on for an opening act, and it was amazing to see people actually at first they were kind of like, what's going on? And they were like, hey,
I know that guy.
I think one of the funniest things I've seen recently, well, it's not really funny, it's kind of dope, when Schoolboy Q came to town, and the dude from TDE was like, yo, who wants to open up for school, who's good enough to open up for Schoolboy Q? And then it ended up being Dutch and Michael Christmas. That was crazy to be in the building for that. It's just like, what? And yo, Schoolboy Q is on an internet, he was talking 50 dates in Europe, that's the tour he's on. And then the CEO was like, yo, what's up, y'all want to open up for Schoolboy Q? And then easy as that, the next day they were on stage in front of a sold out crowd,
and it worked too, because it's very easy to go to a concert and maybe you start out strong, maybe you're amazing, maybe you suck, but you might not make an impact. And at least I didn't see Dutch Rebel if she had a recap video, but I saw Christmas's, and the entire crowd was showing him so much love, which is something very, very special that doesn't happen very often in the city.
It's really dope.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is that when Dutch performs, I've seen Dutch go into venues where no one's seen her before, and she leaves with 50 new fans. 50 new fans. I don't care where the venue is. If they've never seen Dutch before, bam, it's done. I saw Dutch and Lisa Bello open for Nina Sky.
Oh, wow.
And I don't even want to tell you what was going on that night with the audience. But bam, Dutch gets on, Dutch rocks 25 minutes, 30 minutes, 50 new fans. And that's another part of marketing. It's like, you can be this You can be that. You can portray this. When you get on that stage and deliver, you have to deliver.
Yeah.
Otherwise, all this stuff that we do, or all the stuff that you hired people to do, is for naught.
Yep.
If you don't live up to the hype.
And like good marketing can only hide shitty music for so long.
Exactly.
I think that's the key to all of this. Like your music has to kind of be good,
It has to be very
or you have to have a market. You have to know your market and just market to them if it sucks.
Or you have to have millions of dollars to release. I've seen the machine push some terrible music, but they had the cash to back it up, and they made it happen. It's terrible, but unfortunately, that is the world we live in.
Hi, Kesha.
Oh man!
And
Shots fired.
I think it's interesting that a lot of artists need to know that they have to make music. There's two sides to this. Yeah, they have to make music. They have to find their own sound, and then find the lane to promote it. I think you can't chase a radio single, because what does a radio single sound like? You know what I mean? Coming from you, it has to. Some people are made for radio. They make songs. That's who they are, though. You know what I mean? You can't be, I'm not an underground. I need a better term than backpack because we talked about that earlier. But like, you can't be like super lyrical,
golden age oriented,
or something like that. But just like you have to know,
hella term on that one.
you have to develop a sound, whether that's with a producer, whether it's just a flow, whatever it is. You have to develop a sound.
Yeah.
And then the second part is finding people that play that sound. You can't go to a radio station that they're not playing that sound. You have to know, like I said earlier, if they're playing trap music, don't send your stuff to a radio station in Atlanta and be mad that they don't play it if you're making stuff that they only play in New York or they only play in Boston or whatever kind of sound music it is. You know what I mean?
I mean, like, to an artist who is complaining about radio, which is something that happens quite a lot in this area.
Bring it on.
All the time.
Bring
all the
it
time.
on.
All the time.
Would all of you reach the consensus that they should really be looking inward at themselves and not blaming the radio?
I think it's, well, you guys can get on this. You have to, like, you have to. It's easy to blame somebody else, but it's not my fault. Shit sucks, or it's just not something I will play. Like, don't give me something that, you know what I mean, that's super mainstream to play on like 88.9 at night. Like, I might throw some gems in there, whatever, maybe to try to get some new fans. But like, for the main part, you're gonna hear old school shit and then local shit. That's really what it was. You know what I mean? But it's like, don't try to come if you're not fitting into that sound. Then I can't really rock with it. And you have to understand that no matter what, shows have a brand too. Stations have a brand. You know what I mean? 94.5 isn't going to play that. You have to know that they're not going to play that shit besides Launchpad. You know what I mean? You might not get your joint in the daily rotation, and you have to understand why. And that goes into doing your research like Dar says and Brand says. You know what I mean?
It's all about awareness and doing your research and due diligence. And as far as complaining about things, I'm world-class ranter. But when you ask me questions about my rant, I have information
The rant champ.
to back it up. But as far as like complaining about the radio, as we've already reiterated, you know the situation of Boston's urban market and it's dire, and you know what's available. And as far as like complaining about the radio, I say this all the time. I'm like, it's easy to quit. It's hard to try, but like it's hard to live and it's easy to die. Like, dude, it's easy to complain about something, about why you're failing at something. It's the same way if you go and you're like, I don't know why this always happens to me. Well, you keep putting yourself in these situations and shit happens. You know what I'm saying? It's not magic. So if you know the situation, you know what you're up against, and you're aware of everything, then why are you trying to like run into a brick wall? Like, go to a door when it opens. Like, what are you doing, dummy?
I think the thing is also, radio labels have budgets. There's something called a radio budget.
No, what? No.
There's something called a radio budget.
Stop.
That you might not just emailing a DJ and that he has to talk to, like, and you also got to understand the pecking order of a radio station. There's a program directors. And sometimes the program director at the station is taking orders from a regional program director. And then they're taking initiatives from the conglomerate.
And what's the name of the company that runs the radio station?
You know what I mean?
Is it Radio 1?
Like, do you know 94.5 is Clear Channel?
It's
So
Clear Channel?
105? Do you know Hot 97 is MS? Like, do you know these things?
Do you know these things? They don't. How many radio stations do they have in the region versus this station? Are they in direct competition with each other? Can you leverage one against the other? Do your goddamn research.
And I think an interesting thing is too, a lot of people don't know that Emerson College, ERS 889 is BDS Nielsen certified. Our spins count. So every time we play the joint, is that Blair in the back? What up, B? Every time we play the joint, it counts. You know what I mean? So our spins count, and a lot of stations, maybe some college stations don't have that, and you have to do the research to find that out. You know what I mean?
I mean, also, people who get discouraged because they don't get played on one station. It's not like there's not 100 million more that you can go and interact with.
Online stations.
Yeah,
Right.
There are workarounds.
There's numerous.
There's ways to
options.
work around it too.
Yeah, like it's crazy to me. Like if somebody would be like, "Oh, I can't get played out here. What do I do? Go somewhere else." You know,
Right.
The worst they can say is no. But if you just give up off your first spot because it's local, then obviously your dreams weren't big enough anyway. If you only focused on where you are at the moment.
There are people right now that have joints that are playing on like 18 different podcasts, and then it's like you'll go on like, I can't remember what the name. Oh, Majestic or whatever on YouTube. That channel, and
That
bam,
channel's
there's the song.
Yeah, that channel's so good.
Yeah,
man.
that channel. The channel comes on. Bam, the song's on that channel. The next thing you know, that song has a whole bunch more views on YouTube. Then it has fan videos, and the next thing you know, that a month later, that person is opening for somebody. Everything counts. So if that dumbass was sitting on his ass like, they won't play me on this one radio station, then it's like, what are you doing? There's ways to work around that.
And it's like, I'll take an example from one of my homies. He's a producer. This dude, Seventh Wonder, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, he's big on SoundCloud. He's doing his thing on there. And, like, he's not focused on just getting on Boston podcasts and all that shit. He connected with this dude, Complexion, in the UK and started building his fan base out there. And now he's getting flown to Tampa. He's getting flown to Canada. Like, it's just, you can't, just because you're here doesn't mean you can only focus on here. And you have to have a global vision with it.
And what's crazy is that Seventh Wonder, who I just recently met, and I saw a set. He was talking to me. I met him at Lace too. He was talking to me about Soulection, and I'm like, those are my people. He's like, you know Soulection? I was like, I knew when they started up 3 years ago. I was like, Joe K and all them guys. I was like, I was one of the first people on the East Coast. Like, yo, y'all really need to mess with these producers because I run Producers I Know. Bandcamp.com.
Shameless.
So it's like I knew all these guys through Producers I Know, and it's like I'm talking to him about selection. I'm like, yo, when you get there, tell everybody I said what's up, and he's like, yo, for real, you know them? I'm like, yeah. Then after a set, I'm like, yo, your music has such crazy reach, and he's doing everything the right way, and he's not getting played anywhere here really. No, but damn if I didn't see him open the show at the Middle East. Right. And if he ain't going all over the place.
And I think that's a model for you guys, because you guys know Selection, definitely look into them. They're out with Cal State Long Beach, and then I listen to them. I'm tuned into their podcast. They do Selection Saturday. I wait for that to drop in the middle of the week so I can listen to that 3 hours straight. I'm at work. That's you can get to that level. There's no reason you can't.
Salute Chronica.
You know what I mean? It's just it's a college radio station that they just built and spread online and doing shows. You know what I mean? There's no reason you guys can't get there as well. You know what I mean?
I will say that I like that you guys have a digital focus as well.
Yes,
like,
that's very
the
important.
first one that we had spoke on, I like that I saw that it showed up on blogs and stuff like
you
that.
You can download
the
app
for you to be able. Well, yeah, the app too. That's amazing.
That's so damn convenient.
No, it was. I was at a label the other day. I was actually showing them some of the stuff in the market because I have some people coming for the summer, and I actually did show them your app, and they're like, "Wow, like I can't believe someone like." Because they're looking at like college, they don't really view college
they don't see it,
in a very crazy way because they're kind of misinformed. But that impressed the hell out of them that you guys were proactive in bringing people to you versus just trying to get everybody to come. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Like again, that's props on you guys in the format that you created. But I also last time when I started seeing that panel on different blogs and things of that nature, I'm like, wow, like they really get it. You taking your format, you're spreading it around. You're making sure that maybe someone can't hear you, live, or maybe they don't have your app or something, that it's accessible to the people. And that's. If this is the way that you're going, I'm excited to see where you guys are going to take this over the next few years when the big vision really comes in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm excited to see where this is going to go. I only have like another year with this, but we're going to be handing it off to these guys, and they'll hopefully take good care of it. It's our baby.
There goes the pressure.
But I think the thing about that is what I've learned, man, just dealing with just doing whatever. It's kind of like when you leave, you still, whatever you end up doing, that's a relationship you can build to send people back. You know
absolutely,
what I mean?
absolutely.
And vice versa. You know what I mean? And that's the best thing about doing radio that I've experienced so far. I came in doing radio at 88.9 by accident, honestly. I didn't even plan on going to do it. I just thought I was going back to school, going to get my master's in marketing. I was like, all right, cool, ready to go. And in the summer before I was supposed to start in the fall, I got a call from this girl that helped me on admissions. And she called me around like late August, and she's like, hey, there's some openings on 88.9 at night. Do you want to take a shift? I'm like, yeah, like, well, I wasn't even thinking about Emerson College and radio. I wasn't even thinking about it at all. And it was like, I knew 88.9 from growing up. I'm like, how could I say no to that? And I have to. And then even when I was going up from on air to try to do the PD thing, I had talked to Brandon a lot about it before I took it, because I didn't know if I was ready for the responsibility and all of that. And B was like, yo, man, you just got to go for that. And then 2 years later, shit, there we go.
And now he's the boss.
Yeah, I remember when I started radio.
Dog, you could have like a late night, sex show. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, dude, you know how much trouble I would get into? HBO. You know how much trouble I would get into?
If you do that, then you should definitely come up to ShowOff Radio.
Dude, you don't have any idea how much trouble I would get into, man. Son. That didn't happen. You didn't hear that.
I will gladly provide
Dude.
the porn stars for that show.
That never happened.
Straight
You didn't
up.
hear anything. Don't text me shit. Don't text me
Did I
nobody.
get you in trouble enough already?
I think you just guaranteed that this interview is not going on the WTV.
Man, we're fast approaching Howard Stern status right now.
Whoops. There's no boobs yet. Like, we all right, we cool.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah. This, 37 minutes? 35 now? I'm looking at the ceiling.
They're gonna dump like this whole like 2 minutes.
Yeah, just chop this out, and then we'll get back to it.
Give it its own section. Oh man, how do we come back from that?
I mean, honestly, I got a question about perception for you guys.
Yeah.
You know, obviously the Launchpad is one of the few outlets on, big time radio that local artists have. What is the policy that prevents, this is a real question, what are the politics that prevent other stations from even carving out a little spot? Because even if that 45 minutes, hour of airtime doesn't get many ears, it's the perception that matters. If you can say that, you're playing on Kiss 108, if it's a terrible time, but you can say that to people, then they're going to believe in your movement. So how does that balance out?
There's actually a thing with Clear Channel in particular where they have to have a 2-hour block of independent music mandatory on most of their stations, and that just happens to fit the criteria.
Yeah.
For the Launchpad or something
Because
like
that
that.
show used to be longer, and it got short. I think it was like 10-2 at one point when G-Spin was there.
Yeah.
And then it got reduced down to 10-12. So a lot of stations, they just do it in different ways. Like they obviously chose to keep that show in that format, for them. But a lot of other stations, they'll just use it as, all right, we'll play indie music. That doesn't necessarily have to be hip hop, stuff like that. So it's a mandatory thing. It's actual like rules for most Clear Channel stations. I don't know about a lot of the other companies and their policy, but them in particular, that's just something that they have to have.
And I think for Peter Rosenberg, his real late with Peter Rosenberg, where he can play what he wants. It's like Sunday from like 12 to like 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
So MS probably has the same kind of thing as well.
And the crazy thing is that his Real Late program is actually piggybacking off of when Hot 97 used to have the Stretch and Barbito show, which was like spun off from their WKCR 88 Tech 9 show.
Yeah.
So it's like Rosenberg got that plum spot because of the work that Stretch and Barbito did
on college radio.
and, from college radio.
That's the college radio station every like hip hop
Everybody
station should be formed after.
Yeah, it's
like Big L, Jay-Z, like legends
yeah.
everywhere. Like it's stupid.
Yeah, because I got pulled into radio through online radio, and of course I ain't doing radio. And it's like I go on there, and the thing that got me on radio was Guru going into a coma. So everybody wanted to interview me about that because I was the guy that was like, how's Guru in a coma and nobody from Boston knows. I'm calling Boston OGs, all these cats. I'm like, yo, you know Guru's in the hospital, right? No, he ain't. Like, I hear from his family. It's like his family don't know. And then like we get a listserv thing from his sister. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I end up on the radio doing the interview. The radio show sucks. I'm talking to my boy. I'm like, we could do a better show than this. We had a less than 24-hour turnaround. We had to get permission from everybody to play their music. So I hit up all these people that I knew. I'm talking like Rhythmatic. I'm talking about like Babu. I'm talking about like DJ House Shoes. I'm talking about like Danny Brown. People I know. And they're giving me permission to play their music. And then their friends are giving me permission to play their music. And right before we go on, we get more permission to play music. And we had a whole gang of music to play when we finally went on in less than 24-hour turnaround. And it ended up being a podcast. You can still find it. It's called The Scrunch Face Show. But the thing is that, like, that was by accident. And I didn't, even to this day, I don't realize the reach that that radio show that I did with my boy, St. Mike out of Virginia had. I interviewed some of the, like, I interviewed Odyssey. I had one of the best interviews of Odyssey you ever hear. Wow. You know, I interviewed a whole gang of cats that, you know, coming up. I interviewed Knots. Wow. His managers hit me up, was just like, yo, D. Sloan was like, yo, you want to talk to Knots? I'm like, yeah. So it's like, that all came from just radio, and we had no budget. We were just kicking it on the radio with people that we knew. So it's like, never underestimate the reach. Yeah. Even if you don't have a certain budget or whatever, people are going to hear it, and it's that works with your brand and people just buying into what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. And I think that I felt that like crazy, like just people that, like you said earlier, I didn't know you knew me. Like I'm just walking down, like you never know, never know that kind of stuff. It was funny. I was at a business meeting. That sounds so Hollywood. I was at a business meeting. I was at Joe's American Bar and Grill, and was meeting with some people for work, and I brought up the secret spot from 88.9. And then one of the dudes that was working there was like, did you say the secret spot 89? I knew I recognized that voice. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ. It's weird, but like you never know if you just keep working and doing everything right, uploading this to SoundCloud, make sure you post the stuff on socials, and make sure you're actually talking to people about what you're doing. You'll never know who's really going to take notice until you get that text or that email or that phone call. And
also salute to Miss JD, who had Beats, Rhymes, and Life, yes, which ended up on Dig Radio, and it ended after 3 years. Yeah, so that was another huge blow. Podcast. Yeah, that was another huge blow for the city, man, because so many people came down. I was involved with it towards the end. I was like a regular guest, but man, that was just a.
Was that a WTBU show by any chance? I remember seeing that on.
Yeah, I think it actually was, because one of the hosts, Miss Dreamcakes, I think she actually went to be maybe it was Emerson. I think it was an Emerson show. It was an Emerson show before.
Okay.
Because JD and Miss Dreamcakes both went to Emerson.
True.
Word. By the way, Malcolm, totally did not mean to creep you out earlier.
No, I'm messing with you. Oh, he's used to it. Don't let him play you.
I had no clue. I really didn't know.
He got a Sharpie in his pocket. He's just waiting for y'all to ask him for autographs.
Just thought I'd throw that out there. No, I'm messing with you. Now, just stay on this college radio question. Like I was saying, I think that we can provide a platform, but we have to do it in the correct way. And I'm just curious, all your guys' opinions with college radio, because we're playing a huge part. We can play a huge part within this scene. What can our show do? What can other shows do besides just playing music to grow the scene to Boston and beyond?
I think it's kind of been the theme of the night. Professionalism, man.
Jesus.
When it comes to reaching out to people, when it comes to really having big ideas, there's no reason you can't. There might be like some yellow tape because it's a university, but like sponsors for things, like that kind of stuff. Just being professional in how you run the show and promote the show, and how you just interact with people that you want on the show and things like that.
I think maintaining your integrity.
Yeah.
Do the show that you want to do.
Yeah.
Don't let someone come in here and influence you in a way where either you're not comfortable or you're not delivering to the way that you normally would deliver. Because, I mean, in a way, and I'm not trying to say this to, apply any pressure, but you guys really do have like a crazy responsibility at this point. If you're going to be in the urban realm and you're going to provide this platform to make sure that it works properly. I think the things that you guys are doing are already good in between, having these panels where you're giving the information, giving a lot of the local artists an opportunity, spreading it throughout your social networks and your blog relationships and stuff. Just make sure you deliver to the way that you're comfortable delivering, because that's going to speak to a lot of people. And, I like, that you guys are accessible in a lot of ways. always, be accessible to a degree. Maybe not hang out every single club night or concert, but make sure that you guys are visible in the community, so people know that they can reach out to you. That it's not just voices on the radio. You're actual people.
Yeah,
very important.
Okay, so to piggyback off what they just both said, one, you definitely have to have integrity in what you're doing, and you have to be professional. The other part of it is that, like, when you do this and you provide this service for people, it's like you have to be steadfast in it. Mm-hmm. And it's like when people start buying in, you have to continue to deliver at either that level or better. So it's like if you see any drop off in production value, or you see you veering off in any way, shape, or form that might affect, and this isn't even branding, this is just checking yourself. It's like you have to be able to pull yourself back, like, what are we doing? Because if you're connected to the audience, you're going to know when you're veering off course or whatever. But yeah, man, I just like the way the direction in which you're headed and the things you're doing, and it can only get better from here. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you're providing a good resource, not only platform.
Yeah.
Artists can listen to this, and all the knowledge that these guys have and that I may have is kind of like where you're really going to get that on a day-to-day basis. And I think your panels and mixing that in with the music and paying homage to all those kind of things is very, very important.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate all you guys coming on here in the first place.
Yeah.
This has been awesome. This is, the third? Actually, it looks like we have a caller on the line. Hold on one second.
Uh-oh.
Is this
Is
Tim?
that who I think it is?
You're listening to WTBU. What's your name?
It is who you think it is.
Oh, young Timmy!
What's up, Tim?
What's good?
Thanks for calling in, man. You got anything to say to these
Am I on
guys?
air right now?
Yep, you are on the
You're
air.
good. You're good.
Hey, what up, guys? What up, Sorry.
Yeah, what up, Tim?
Yeah,
The real boss,
Mr. LaRue. What up?
man, I didn't want to interrupt you guys. You guys are killing it, but I figured I'd say what up at least.
Nah, definitely. Tim, tell us some of those things that you've done well, man, or some of the successes or some of the things you practice to help with your, development of Michael.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the biggest thing for me has been listening, honestly. Whether it's you guys, whether it's fans, I think one of the biggest things in marketing is you have to be a good listener. I think a lot of people worry about, talking too much, honestly, and then, pushing before they're, ready to really understand how to push or what they're pushing. I think, it's not necessarily about reading books or reading articles, but studying people. And I think that just having my blog relationships and running a blog the last few years has allowed me to see how people move correctly, how people move incorrectly, and, just kind of ride off from there. But, you got it started by talking about having a plan. Malik, that was the first thing you said. Like, it sounds really simple, but that's one of the things Christmas and I and Ian have focused on from the beginning is, let's map out what we're trying to do this month, and one of two things is going to happen. Either we're going to follow through or we're going to come up short. And, we always know if one of those two things happens, we need to reassess regardless. We need to say, what did we do well? What did we do wrong? But we always have benchmarks. And they're very short. They're anywhere from a week to a month to 6 months. We have these kind of intermittent goals laid out, so we can pretty easily reassess. And I think what I've noticed from a lot of people who come up short from the marketing side, it's like they do one push and there's no assessment. There's no follow-up. There's no what did I do right or wrong. And you have to do both things. There's, even with the success we've had the last 6 months, there's certainly things we could have done better.
Yeah.
But I think allowing yourself that room for reassessment, kind of reminds you that you're not perfect. No one is. And, it allows you to grow and get better.
Yeah, and I think that it's important that artists, especially when they're doing releases and things like that, really looking to the future. Like, just like putting that project is like the middle of the campaign. It's never the beginning or the end. You know what I mean? And a lot of artists don't understand that. Just looking at, even major label stuff too. Like a lot of the stuff, a lot of things aren't reactivated. Everything should be planned out. The project is like kind of in the middle of the full plan, no matter how long the run is, whether it's 8 weeks, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is. I think it's really getting a real vision of the full layout and how you want to, stay relevant through that run, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one thing I've noticed, like, locally versus, the project that I've been in tune with the last couple of years coming out of Chicago or Atlanta, or people that have had more successes. I've seen a lot of local projects that are successful in the short term that, like I said, it seems to be that real, like, leading up to the project push, and then the project drops and it's a celebration, and, 2 weeks of Twitter interactions, and then it's kind of dead. So like the approach we try to take with Christmas's project is, let's drop this thing on February 19th, but if he's still not buzzing on April 19th and on June 19th and on August 19th, we're doing something wrong. And that doesn't mean you need to drop music. We've dropped one song since then, and it was on a Boondocks mixtape. But
just on a Boondocks mixtape.
No one's ever heard of the Boondocks.
But we've had a pretty steady stream of content, and it's as simple as, obviously it's different for each artist's brand, but for his, funny photos have worked. And it's about keeping fans satisfied and generating conversations, like, putting out a simple tweet like, what's your favorite song off the project? I think a lot of artists don't think to do things like that. And it's kind of like, pat yourself on the back more so than like, wait, I'm trying to reach a fan base. Did I? And if I did, one of you guys just said it a few minutes ago, let's follow up. Let's keep them satisfied. It's a two-way street always.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of a bigger problem is that people don't realize that the beauty of social media and the immediacy of everything and real time interaction with people is that it allows you to do things you can't do when you're on a major label. Like, you can be flexible with your plan. Like, if something's working and you didn't expect it to work, you can go towards that. Yeah. You can do something with it. You can plan on the fly. Whereas,
great point.
Whereas it's usually like, I don't know what to do with this. We're gonna have to go back and rework this. And no, the beauty of this whole era right now with the digital interaction with people is that we can restructure the plan. We can do these things on the fly. We can actually, get somewhere with people. And it's like, you see when you're dealing with like marketing on a level like how we do it, where you're closer to the subject, where we can actually do things, I guess, better than they do at a big level where they're throwing money at the situation. We're closer to things, so we can, okay, this is what's working. This isn't what's working. Let's dial this back. Let's work this. Let's do a song with this guy. Let's do a remix here, or this is working in this region. Yeah. Because I've seen so many times where like a major label, they just let opportunities fly, and they'll just fall right through their hands because they didn't plan for that.
Yeah, right. And it's easier and it's better. That's actually more important for local and independent artists to listen. Yeah, because you don't have that money you can waste.
Exactly.
Like you working, you putting your money aside. You got that $600. What are you going to put that towards? You got to see what the people are actually reacting to. You don't have that big budget behind it to just throw it to that and see how it works. You got to be more calculated.
And there's no excuse, man. There's analytics on every single website, whether it's SoundCloud, Twitter, Instagram. I'm checking, like, I always check my personal stats, but with Christmas or whatever other artists I work with, I'm checking their statistics 5 times a day. I get obsessed with it because you have to, and if you really, caring about what the fan interaction is like, you got to be checking that stuff. And like you said, when there's a low point. If there's a low point, you put out the appropriate content, or you have that next move. You can plan it on the spot, like you said, Dart. Like, that's the beauty of it, is you can plan stuff on the go. You can have like goals and plans laid out, but if something isn't working, it's like, all right, back to the drawing board. Next 24 hours, let's come up with something that'll get conversation going.
Some things work in different regions.
Yeah.
There's nothing that pisses me off more than when people actively try, I'm going to make the juke song. No, don't do that. If something's working in Chicago or Detroit or the Midwest, if something's working around Atlanta, if something's working in the South, then you can act on it now.
Yeah.
Like now. That's the beauty of this thing. And I the thing I like is that you guys aren't looking at a short-term thing. You're working it. Like, you're actually saying, if it's not working this month or next month or next month, that's 3 months down the line. It's like your contingency plan has to have a contingency plan. Otherwise, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
I mean, I think one thing, and we spoke on this earlier, I mentioned you in regards to like people, I think are good management.
Appreciate it.
You have a real good follow-up system. You're very aggressive. You're very attentive to what you're doing. Like, where does that mindset for you come from?
I think it's like people that I dealt with through the blog. Like I said, like, there's, Dart, you mentioned it, like, there's a whole lot of wrong ways people approach you. And, I think a big part of why I got invested in other artists from other cities was because of how managers, publicists, whoever I was dealing with, treated me. And it's about like, I think it's about making the person you're dealing with, whether it's a DJ, whether it's a writer, blogger, you got to let them have their pride. Like I'm a writer as well. I'm a manager, but I'm also a writer and a blogger. And, I take a lot of pride in like discovering a new artist and writing about them. And I think when, even when an artist is talented, but a manager is way too pushy, you get turned off because it's like, well, now I feel like I'm doing a favor. Now I don't feel like, I don't feel like I'm doing this because I believe in this artist. I feel like I'm doing this because, I have a manager or publicist, emailing me 3 times in 2 days. It's like, no, if, my whole philosophy is I'm gonna send you a new release, and if I don't hear back from you, I might follow up in a week and say, hey, did you get a chance to check it out? But, if not, I'll assume it's either the wrong time or you just weren't, you weren't messing with that song, and that's fine. But I think you have to let the people you're dealing with have a little pride in that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of times it boils down to people feel like you have an obligation to do something and not realizing that if you feel put upon, that's going to affect you wanting to even either listen or promote it.
Right.
All the labels and the groups and the teams that everybody loves right now, they've done it the right way, where when you say their name, there's a good response automatically.
Yeah. Right.
Like TDE.
Right.
Yep.
Who has anything bad to say about anybody in TDE, from their production to the management to anybody involved in that team? The artists, the new artists that they've signed, who has anything bad to say? Where's the weak link?
Besides Mr. Knight, nobody's anything bad to say.
Exactly. What's the weak link in the TDE chain?
No, and I had a point to make off that. It segues perfectly. The other thing I was going to talk about is, showing genuine appreciation. And it's not like some phony thing. It's like, think about this on a personal level. Like, let's back away from like music and business.
Yeah.
If someone is supporting something you're doing, show appreciation. That that means someone went out of their way, to do whatever it is. Whether it's play a song on air, whether it's have a meeting. Me meeting Bedlam randomly in Midtown one day. Like, that's someone going out of their way for someone that they didn't have to. And like the TDE example, 2 years ago, when I was kind of like first getting the blog going, I sent an email to Dave Free from TDE. Schoolboy and Absol were coming to town on tour, and I was like, hey, I'd love to do something. Like, I got this blog. I'd love to do coverage or an interview. And you responded. And I didn't even expect a response. And he responded. He's like, yeah, I'll hook you up with Musa, Schoolboy's manager. And I ended up like doing some backstage footage with him that day, and it was really dope. But here's these guys that are national acts, and Musa followed up with me on email. He was like, hey, I just wanted to say, like, I really appreciate you doing that. Like, that's, just producing a video for them. It's something random. It doesn't really benefit them, but, it was definitely a bigger look for me. But, like, that meant a lot to me. And it was really cool kind of seeing things come full circle, because 2 years later, Christmas is opening on a whim for Schoolboy at the Wilbur. And, I tapped Musa up backstage, and we just kind of smiled like, this is pretty cool. And it's like, it's a genuine thing. It's not like, I don't know, it's just showing genuine love.
Just want to say one thing real quick. The world is a big world. The business world is hella small.
Yeah.
Everybody talks.
Yeah.
So if you're a liar, if you're shady, if you're just an asshole in general, we're all going to know about it, and we're all going to talk about you.
Yep.
And if you've noticed me being a jerk or asshole to anybody, it's because they're an asshole. So that's just one to grow on right there.
Yeah, and I think on Tim's point, man, even when they were doing like 12 for 12, man, and I don't know who reached out to me. Maybe it was Tim. He's like, yo, can we come on 80? And I was like, of course. Like, you guys you're building something, and it was so special and it was so unique at the time. It was like, why wouldn't I want to support that? You know what I mean? And I didn't even know these. I didn't know them. I didn't know y'all before that. Right?
Yeah, nah.
Not really. Like, I never even met y'all. The first time I really met y'all for real was when y'all came to the station.
I didn't even know y'all were, man.
I didn't even know y'all.
I didn't even know what you look like,
Who
son.
is BU kids?
Yeah,
I don't even like BU.
What's a Tim LaRue, B?
Money mouth. No, man, but like, and that was the last one I wanted to make was, like breaking that. I forget, Bedlam might have been you at the beginning of this, talking about breaking the internet barrier and like being, present in real life. And I found that like huge to my personal success. And again, it's not like some like phony strategic thing that I do. Like, I genuinely want to meet people, and like, I think it's pretty cool to like, become part of someone's life story and vice versa. But like, with everyone that supported me and whatever I've done, whether it's locally, whether it's in New York, whether it's in Chicago. In the last 2 years, I've made a point to like meet up with them. I'll go through my phone, or I'll go through Twitter, and I'll be like, yo, what are you doing today? I'm in town, and we went to Chicago a few weeks ago, Christmas at a show out there, and there were probably like 10 or 12 people that it's kind of like blog contact, like people that I've either supported through the blog or people that have supported Christmas. They came out to his show, and it was like, it was really dope. And again, it was just genuine love with breaking that internet barrier and meeting people in real life. And you talk about with WRS, like first time we went on there, like I could have just been hitting you back and forth on email that whole time, but I think it's really important to just show people that you're real. It's really easy to hide behind the internet and just act like a tweet or whatever is promoting or marketing or getting the job done. But it's not.
Did you get a timely response from Malcolm? He's a busy guy, you have to get out his assistant, you know what I'm saying? Then she screens the emails.
Yeah, I know, right?
Slide him an envelope, you know how it goes.
My junk folder is crazy right now.
My junk folder is 25% Revolt TV.
Oh,
Damn,
man.
that's brutal. I had to unfollow them finally. That was crazy.
Yo, they tell you everything. We just got up this morning, Revolt TV. I'm like, damn, son.
Yeah, too much.
Hey, some of us like that type of obnoxious stuff. I'm obnoxious. I do the same thing.
Oh, God. So funny.
I mean, especially in marketing, as annoying as it is, at the same time, you shouldn't be in marketing if you can't be obnoxious. Like, you have to be able to get the point across. And that's not saying being obnoxious in a way that's bad, but
Strategic
you
obnoxious.
You gotta be able
Strategic
to
obnoxiousness.
You gotta have the balls to want to get in every single person's face and just
Mascoya today.
I'm doing. Oh yeah,
Just dropped.
I was gonna do a shameless plug. But
Yo, shout out to Wallace in the building, man.
And also, Nori's Nor'easter just dropped today, too.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. I'm doing everybody's job for them.
Hey man, we just didn't get to it yet. Trying to have me out here looking crazy.
Nah, son. Nah, never that, son.
Well, Tim, this is Joe, by the way. I have a question for you.
This is Joe.
Hey, Joe.
I just want to let him know.
It's Joe.
I hate Miriam. You kill me all the time. I had a question for you. I've had the chance to know you since my freshman year when I interned on Midnight Marauders. You were working with them. I was just curious with that whole experience, what you learned from that, helping them get guys on shows and DJing that show, what you learned about just the scene and, promoting artists.
I think I'm learning the same thing you guys are learning. You talked about earlier in this talk, you're talking about just like, creating a platform beyond Boston. Mapa was obviously like a really good friend of mine, and I remember he would have he had like Dom Kennedy calling once, Freddie Gibbs, and I remember before I even knew him too well or knew the station too well, I was like, man, that's pretty cool that like they initiated that and have like artists that I really like outside the city calling into like this little station on campus. And then when I started getting close to them and coming on the show, I kind of like fused what they were doing with the blog. They weren't having a ton of local artists on at that point. They were having more like up and coming artists from other cities call in. And I brought through like Dylan Cooper, like that was his like first ever radio interview, like the week after he dropped his first track. Now this dude's on tour with the Underachievers and he's killing it. And I brought through a couple other people, and like God, that was one of his first times on the radio, and he has like there's a freestyle video on YouTube that was
oh
crazy.
My God, it's crazy.
I'll never forget that night. But yeah, man, I just learned that like you got to it's about providing opportunities for people, but not like you said, not just like stuff that's going to float and circle within Boston. Like, you got to broadcast that somehow. And be, I created this, like, Midnight Marauders freestyle series, and to this day, like, you go on thefreshair.com, there's a tab that says Midnight Marauders freestyles, and there's, like, 6 of them there, and they all have, like, thousands of views. And that, I think those gained some traction. They probably got posted on blogs outside of Boston, too. And, like, you guys I saw had that, like, you had one with Rex, it was on Two Dope Boys, like, just branching out, getting your name out there. That's marketing. It's like, it's subtle. It's a subtle style of marketing, but like just doing anything to kind of get your name in different circles. And I think that's one of the ways I learned to, do that through just experimenting with the blog and the radio show.
Word, man.
Crossing audiences, I think that's a big part.
Absolutely. Shameless plug. If you see the Dylan Cooper interview, you'll hear me awkwardly ask a question at the beginning. That was the first interview I ever did on WTBUs, but that was pretty awesome.
How do you spell your Dylan? Dylan? That's how you spell your Dylan?
And you also hear Big Game James, too, who I just saw recently at the BU Hip Hop mixtape listening party.
He's a legend.
He is a legend. He's doing well, too.
Word.
All right, Tim, thank you so much for joining us. Got anything else you want to add?
Not really. I'm cool. Appreciate you guys.
All right.
No
Yeah, man.
spamming you
Thank
want to
you.
do?
What up?
No spamming you want to do? By the way, this is Miriam.
Yeah, I know who it is. Thank you.
Yo,
I thought it was Siber.
Appreciate that. You're the best.
Miriam, I hate you. I hate you so much. Oh, thanks a lot, Tim. Thanks for joining
guys.
us.
Peace, Tim.
All right,
Tim.
Tim.
Oh, man. Tim LaRue. That was him joining us. All right, man. It's time to. I guess it's time to wrap it up. You guys got any final thoughts before we head out?
Trap Lord in stores now.
You know
Yo,
damn
I
well you ain't
think
listen to that.
the keys of the night, besides Trap Lord, of course. Professionalism. Do your research. Be genuine. And these are things that should be pretty straightforward, but a lot of people don't take the time to really think about it. Have a plan. Make sure that's measurable. As Tim said, have short-term girls, long-term girls. I can't even talk.
Short-term girls and long-term girls.
Yo,
I do that already.
The
The
40th
theme of that
slip.
late night show just keeps coming out.
It's almost 10 o'clock, man. My mind about to switch. But no, like short-term goals, long-term ones,
Talk about business.
intermittent ones as well. You know what I mean? Just making sure that everything's measurable and you can actually gauge your success and listen.
All right, so shameless plug. I got a few of them.
No, it's all about the shameless plugs.
All right, so for anybody looking for marketing service in 15 plus markets, holla at ShowOff. We can handle whatever you need from top to bottom, consulting to street teams to digital marketing. I am the guy who works records, for all you guys who hate the radio, whatever.
This dude
That
knows
is what I
every
do.
DJ possible.
I know a lot. I know a couple guys. Other than that, Mas Goya in stores today. Well, actually, I'm sorry, online today, terminologymusic.com, and check out killerboombox.com.
Yeah.
That's what I want to plug.
My debut mixtape, Black Ryan Gosling, coming September
You're
2014.
gonna make me cry, man.
Yeah, actually, Jada S and Jada S is in a band called Blue Gold, and we have a side project called it's called Idris Clooney. That's Idris Elba and George Clooney, because we're the alternate versions of them. So yeah, that's gonna be our side
Y'all gonna
project.
have all the women.
Yeah.
We already do, but we want more. We want more.
Span the horizon.
More, Brandon. But yeah, I'm Dart Adams. You can find me on Medium. Yeah, I'm that guy. You can find me on Medium. My old blogs, of course, are Poisonous Paragraphs, Bastard Swordsman, and right now I'm writing for Hip Hop Wired, and always check out Producers I Know, especially producersiknow.bandcamp.com for a new shit.
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Music Is For Life. That's pretty much it.
Capitalize music. Little is for big life.
Yeah, big life, you know what I'm saying? Oh, and the homie, these people already mentioned their projects. The homie Esther from Selection just dropped So On, his little EP. So
Yes.
you might want to check that out too.
Yeah. Salute Selection and Joe K and all them.
Definitely. The Hooligan, the whole crew.
You just trying to get all the women with the deep voice? What's up, man?
Yeah, definitely just want to shout out my man Esther from Selection.
Girls.
Shout out to Wallace, you know what I'm
It's a theme
saying?
going on.
In here with the Goya hoodie on.
Yeah.
Mas Goya.
It's all about that Mas Goya, man.
So wait, when's Static dropping?
Oh, we're not out till August.
Okay, that's on the way.
But catch Static on tour with Joey Badass all the time.
Jill.
Always.
Pretty much.
All the time.
Literally. Actually, I think they're doing a show as we speak in Brooklyn for 420.
Gotta be tight. Gotta be tight.
There we go.
I think we have one plug on this side.
Yeah,
of
we
the
gotta
glass
get
window.
one
What's
plug.
going on, guys?
What up, B?
Introduce yourself,
Oh,
introduce
man, he's
yourself.
super popular. What's going on?
I'm speaking. Yeah, I came through to obviously, say hello to all you beautiful people and to plug BU Hip Hop's mixtape, which is dropping in 2 days. It's our second one. It's something we wanted to do for a while. We did it the first semester and had a very positive experience doing so. So we decided to do it again. That's coming out in 2 days. It'll be if you go to buhiphop.bandcamp.com, you can please download that. We worked really hard. Pretty much everything, production, raps. It was engineered in Young Homie, College Blueprint, family's dorm room, actually, most of it. And yeah, we worked hard on it. Friday, these guys can attest, was a fun listening party.
Friday there was a listening party, and easily like 120 people came out.
Nice.
The room was full, everything was packed, everything was hype.
Damn.
They're doing something special, and soon enough, BU hip hop is something that the local scene is gonna tap into, and there's gonna be a crossover there. So it's exciting to see.
And I'm super, super happy to see both BU Hip Hop and College Blueprint grow so much this year.
Yeah.
And it's because we're now kind of just like family in the sense that we like cross-pollinate, like people in both like our.
Wait a minute.
Yo, dude for real said cross-pollinate,
Let me
dog.
clarify.
He said cross-pollinate, dog.
Let me clarify.
Is that a hyphen or is it 2 words? Is it hyphenated B?
Cross-pollination of the minds? You know?
I can dig it.
Yeah.
I can
Just
dig
the
it.
mind.
Yeah, just that's it. That's it. Just the mind.
Exclusively the brain, yeah. But yeah, go check that out. So Thursday, Tuesday, we'll have a BU Today article, but peace.
Where can people download it?
buhiphop.bandcamp.com.
What's up? Can I get that for Killer Boombox?
Hell yeah.
All right, word.
Absolutely.
Let me get that link. We
100.
definitely got you on that.
Fuck yeah. Appreciate it.
All right, word, man. Any more plugs? We got them all. Or do
Yeah,
we-
salute Greg at Killer Boombox.
All right.
Definitely
Yeah.
shout out to G.
G Valentino
All the artists
Ball.
we mentioned, man. Everybody putting in work on the scene, man. We appreciate you, dog.
Blair, you gotta do yours. There you go.
Is that like a remix?
Malcolm, last time I was on your show, and you prompted me to do this shit. There's a curve of when I can do it. When I'm really sick, I'm usually able to do it pretty fucking well. But when I'm all healthy, it's 50-50.
And also, Mas Goya is on Bandcamp right now at terminologymusic.bandcamp.com//Mas Goya. So just y'all need to know that it's on Bandcamp.
Yo, shout out to Wallace, man.
Wallace is doing work, man. He's doing work without
He
doing
looks
work.
so tired, you know what I mean? Like, he just been putting in work, or he's just lazy as hell. Or high. Happy 420.
Shout out to you guys though for having
Yo,
us up.
appreciate
here.
it, man.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
100%.
Yeah.
But seriously, shout out to you guys. Let's get the.
Wait, hold on. I think we have one more plug.
Oh, we got one more call. All right, let's
no,
do it.
we got a
One
plug.
more plug.
You
Let's do it.
trying to
Let's do
plug
it.
something.
All right, what do we got?
Hold things
Oh,
on the
I
microphone.
think you can make a
No,
guess,
I
kind
know
of stab
what
at what I'm
it's
gonna
be.
shout out.
God damn it.
Our Lord and Savior Jay.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, anyone who peeped the new Twitter rant, guess what? Album coming this year, so that's pretty cool. Fingers crossed, and hopefully Act 2 comes. So, yeah.
I've known Jay for years, and he's been saying that for years. But okay.
Yeah, I know. I have the tweet printed up. March 12th, 2012.
Yeah.
He tweeted, the album is finished. Dear patient believers and supporters,
Yeah.
thank you for your patience and support.
I know
Yes,
people
George
that have heard
Forrest
the
memorized
album.
the tweet from
Yeah.
2 years
I know
ago.
people that have heard the album.
Yeah, I
They're
remember
still
saying
patient.
Is it coming out?
Yeah.
Let's put it this way: I have people that heard songs that they've had for 4 years finally get released weeks ago.
So you say it's possible.
Either that or it's detox. One of the two.
Word.
Marcy, got anything to say?
Come on.
Come on.
I got something to say for Marcy, unless you want to say yourself.
All right.
All right, I guess I'm gonna say it myself.
I guess Alex is saying.
What?
This girl standing beside us right here, Marcy Wolfish, she is an unbelievably talented human being. She's going to be the president of BU Hip Hop next year. Give it up to Marcy. Dope photographer, dope writer, and we're very, very lucky to have her on our team. And BU Hip Hop is lucky to have her leading everything
Dope.
next
So
year.
adorable.
So shouts out to Marcy like 100
He's
times.
just being nice because I set him up with a girl.
That is not true.
Cyber love.
Hey,
Ooh.
that's a valid reason though. That's a valid reason though. That's a valid reason for props. though.
Yeah.
Two statements.
Look
One,
at him
one, true. Two, I would have done it myself, so not true, kind of. I'll give you like 20% on that.
Damn.
But I really do mean everything I said about Marcy, and she's a very special person. So,
Aw.
yeah.
We love you, Marcy.
She's going to be on everybody's radar very, very soon.
Dope.
All right. I guess
all I
that'll round out this show. We'll
And
play
happy
the.
Easter.
Yo,
And my mom's
seriously.
listening to this one.
So shouts out Mrs. Wolfish, but seriously,
Oh,
shouts
put the
out.
instrumental. Yo, B, you gonna rap something? Spit something, dog.
Man, I wrap Christmas gifts.
All right, I'll wait.
All right, shouts out to everybody that came on the
No
show
doubt.
today. Shouts out Bedlam, shouts out Malcolm, shouts out Dart Adams, shout out to Wallets in the back, shout out to Marcy Blair from BU Hip Hop. Check out that tape next Thursday. Shouts out DJ Miss Manners, even though she called me out. Shouts out DJ Cyberbully. Young homie, shouts out Tim LaRue for calling in. And shouts out J Electronica. And our unofficial sponsor, U-Grill. We have to shout them out as well.
That's happening next semester.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yep.
All right.
Shout out Vitaco, though.
All right. That'll do it for us.
Yep.
Listen to us same time next week.
8 to 10
Sundays,
p.m.
8 to 10. We have Blue coming on, actually. He's going to call in and do an interview. So be sure to check that out. So, all right, that'll do it for us. Thanks for listening. Tune in next week. Peace.
Good night.